Some of you on the internet, on YouTube, have been telling me, Cody, in the cinema, you love gangster movies, you love Goodfellas, you love The Godfather, you absolutely need to see Miller's Crossing. And I have to admit, I hadn't fooled around with it. I had only looked at a few minutes of it many years ago. I put it in last night, and I gotta tell you, if I had to say what film from the Criterion Collection fits in and has the same pedigree as a film like Goodfellas or Godfather, love this still book, by the way. What film would that be? It would probably just be Miller's Crossing. And the essay you get with it talks a little bit about how it came out alongside the same sort of time as Goodfellas. And it is a really strong gangster film. It's one of the very best in the genre. And it's strangely personal, you know, for a film like this. It takes some of the epic out of the genre and really makes it a smaller scale story full of really well shot action sequences. Like I was blown away by this in a way. And I'm just going to tell you the one thing I didn't love was I didn't love some of the music. I thought some of the music tonally was a little off for me, didn't quite match some of the great soundtracks from like The Godfather or Goodfellas. And that is the literal only thing I didn't like about the film. Everything else for me was lights out. And even, gosh, like when you buy this thing, like it has this sweet, if you get this in the Criterion, this gorgeous booklet that really fits the tone. And the best way to start talking about Miller's Crossing, I think, is to sort of put you in the world that it put me into. And there's a little section here from the essay that I thought talks in a way about why I think I was so instantly drawn to it outside of the characters and the drama. It says, looking at Miller's Crossing today, one is most impressed by its sheer density. The way the script adores idioms of the 30s criminal world. Phrases and words like let it drift, dangle, what's the rumpus, I'll see where the twist flops, don't smart me. And it goes on talking about this sort of dialogue. There's a quality to the writing here that feels like real tough guys from the period talking. It almost scratches that itch that you might have when you watch an old James Cagney movie, yet feels incredibly modern. The violence and so forth is so well shot and terrifying and scary. There's a scene. Oh, let me go back to the plot if you haven't seen it. So, Albert Finney is a crime boss, great in this. And he's sort of, you can't tell if he's very good at it. He sort of runs the city. He's got the mayor. He's got the police chief, whatever. And Gabriel Byrne is his advisor, who's clearly better at this than him. And they have a rift, okay, over a few things. One of them is over Marcia Gay Harden, who is a sort of femme fatale, this woman that they both love. And there's all this like transactional relationship with her, with both men. And like, who does she really love? Did they love anyone? Like, what's the whole purpose of intimacy? Is it just to get what you want? I mean, that's a whole other great part of the film. But there's a scene with Albert Finney where he is in a building, I won't tell you which one, and he uses a machine gun. And that has as much tension and enjoyment and excitement and thriller as anything I've seen recently, where he has to sort of defend himself against a problem. Now, there are parts, I'm a big fan of Boardwalk Empire, and there are parts that really remind me of Nucky and so forth from that TV show related to that character when his back is against the wall. And by the way, Steve Buscemi has a small role in this. He has some kind of friendship or relationship with Marcia Gay Harden's brother, who is played terrifically by John Turturro, and one of my favorite performances of him in one of these movies. He is really just kind of a reckless brother to her, and the fact that both the guys involved with the organized crime are into this woman, and you know, the brother, by almost circumstance of that, gets away with a lot, and a lot of the film is like, should he live or die, and who's going to kill him if they have to kill him? And there's this bigger conflict of this guy named Casper, who really is kind of up and coming in the ranks, and he wants to sort of take over the criminal overworld, which means he's going to have to like overthrow the guy that played by Albert Finney, and there's all this double crossing and back and forth. He has a henchman who is like really menacing. I mean, the whole thing is so beautiful and well constructed if you really like those like little dramas that happen between people, because at its heart, this film is about two friends who are sort of going their separate ways. And you know, it reminds me a little bit, strangely enough, of The Banshees of Inisherin. That was a really good film, and how those two friends have fallen apart, because it feels like You can ask yourself, like, what are all the motivations of why the characters keep betraying each other and doing mean things to each other? And to me, it doesn't just feel like two guys who are in love with the same woman. It feels like there are rifts from the past that have finally spilled over into something much more dangerous. That's after having watched one time of this. Now, I mentioned earlier how the film adores the idioms of the time period. Every piece of this feels appropriate to the past in which it is set. It is, I love this description on the back. John Turturro and Marcia Gay Harden supporting performances come together in a slice of pulp perfection that crackles with sardonic wit while plumbing existential questions about free will and our own terrifying capacity for evil. And you don't know what, like, everybody in this film makes a major mistake or has some evil or something beneath them that is making everything more complicated for everyone else. And my goodness, is this film violent and just bloody and beautifully. Okay, so the reason I keep going back to the violence as I'm just sort of spouting out my thoughts and enjoyment and excitement about this film is a lot of times a violent film is violent for the sake of being violent and bombards you with images. I know some people don't love the horror remakes for that reason, but I feel like the violence helps bring a gravity to what's really going on. There's a scene where this guy is standing with a cigar and there's all this destruction and blood and dead bodies out in a street with a machine gun. And you can feel that these decisions have really negatively and adversely impacted people. And you never know when you're next. The beautiful shots, the iconic shots of like, so-and-so is going to take so-and-so out to the forest and will they shoot them or not? And like, how many steps does that person have to take forward? It's kind of like an opposite of what you see at the end of Casino with the characters that bury the one guy out there with the shovel and the baseball bats. There's all this space and it feels so lonely and empty and terrifying and really cool. It was a really fun experience. I was just giddy with pleasure throughout and I laughed a lot and felt sort of sad. None of the characters really have a lot to show for it. Like, Gabriel Byrne's character is just like this sad drunk. Like, at some point you wonder if he's just surrendered to the idea that I'm just going to have to stay alive and that's all I can do. Like, maybe I can accomplish that. And the Casper guy who's just such a hothead, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And since I did find a new gangster film that I really think I will go back to in a similar way to those others. Now, maybe not quite. You know, this isn't quite for me Goodfellas. It isn't quite for me Godfather. And again, part of that has to do with one of the reasons I love those two films is I am in love with their soundtracks, and that's not the case here. It's a small thing, but it's definitely something that I really liked, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on it because you're kind of seeing a reaction more than like a carefully orchestrated review that I wrote down and sort of like thought about each little thing to say because I felt like I wanted to share that joy with you and see if you all had a similar reaction. So with that in mind, like I said, tell me what you think. If you like the content and want to give it a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. And as always, please subscribe to Cody in the Cinema.